I'm the only person in the history of the military who has ever gone through Air Force Tactical Air Control Party training, Army Ranger School where I was an Army man, in 3 hell weeks.
Yeah.
So only person to ever do that. But the reason why I did it was when I was a young kid, I considered myself very weak. Very weak. And as I started developing this indestructible mental toolbox, because what I realized was the things I was most afraid of, I cowered from. I had to start facing these things and becoming an expert at the things I feared the most.
Yeah.
I was afraid of my own mind. My mind would get off on these crazy places of woe is me. My internal conversation wasn't great.
Yeah.
So I had to start mastering it. Once I started mastering it, in the horrible place I was at, I considered myself the worst person ever alive. That was my conversation. But once I started mastering my own life, I started realizing, my God, man, this was in me.
Yeah.
I was a 300-pound fat guy. Now I'm 181 pounds, 190 pounds, whatever it was. I'm gonna go through all these hell weeks. So I started realizing the capabilities of the human soul and the human mind.
Yeah.
So I started to examine it more and more. So we have a theorist and we have a practitioner. The theorist is a person that's gonna sit back and read books from a library that someone else wrote. They become real smart about what someone else wrote, okay? A practitioner is me. I put myself in hell, lived in it for a long time, and figured out how the human mind works while suffering, while in pain, while in misery. And that's how I wrote my book.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you exactly what your mind is thinking. Most of us don't stay in hell long enough to write the book. I stayed in long enough to write it and finish the book.
Once again, it's on. Motherfuckers want to know where Goggins has been. I've been in that mental lab. See, there's all kind of months. Some folks got sober October. They get all kind of shit before people go through trying to better themselves. I got fuck you every day. Get after it every day mentality. That said, when you push that hard, you go to the well. Well, my well was fucking empty. The cookie jar in there had stale moldy cookies. They weren't working no more. Trying to find something else. Had to get that conqueror's mindset back. Where I just don't give a shit about anything. Just fucking grind. A lot of people out there talk about they're missing something in their lives. And they don't know what the fuck it is. You don't know what it is because you live in a soft environment 24/7. Learn to get out of it. Stay hard. This morning I got up early, went for a 15-mile run. When I got back home, I got my bat and come to the gym. On the way to the gym, my neighbor sees me. He says, the question I wanted to ask you, man, for a long time, aren't you afraid of overtraining? I never even thought about it. But it's funny getting a question about overtraining from a motherfucker who don't even fucking train. But that said, I never thought about it. I was in the competition that was in front of me, and I peeled myself back. I saw the talent they had and the talent I didn't have. And I had to work up to that level. I understand about science and shit. I know all about it. But I tell you right now, sometimes you gotta bump up against science. You know, days off and shit. A lot of people think I'm out here spraying water on myself and shit. You don't run 200-mile fucking races by thousands of miles pouring water on yourself. Stay hard.
Throughout this journey, I started becoming this new person. I started creating this new person. People started seeing me as this amazing superhero. In the back of my mind, I knew the real story. And I was like, man, one day you have to really share it. I'm like, man, but do you have the courage? You know, like, it's great to live right here. I've established this. People think you're great. Just stay here. Don't go back. Let's not go back. But the only way you can help people out is let them know that this is possible. So I had to go back and say, this is where I come from. And you know how you take a shower, you have a wash rag and a cloth, and you're sitting there and just lathering up. And before you hang your rag up, you want to get all the water to come on it, and get it all the suds out of it. You want to wring it out, and you want to hang it up. So my big thing is, when I live my life, I want to make sure that when I'm dead and gone, that I wring that wash rag out, and that wash rag is my soul. And I also believe that we're going to end up one day meeting a maker, if you believe in one. And I believe that maker knows everything about you. Everything about you. knows I was gonna be here and talking to you, knows everything. But you also have a choice to make. You have a choice to make. We have choices. And the one thing that scares me to death in my life is getting to heaven and not being what I was supposed to be. And I believe that God has a chart, and he looks at the chart and he puts it in front of you when you get to heaven. He says, hey, this is what you're supposed to be. And one of my biggest fears in life was to see that chart and not have every block checked off. You know, I want to make sure that I'm constantly pursuing whatever it is I'm pursuing, just to be the best. Just constantly grinding myself into a fine powder. You know, but doing it in a smart way. Like I talked about, you can constantly grind yourself into a point where you're just sick. There's a happy medium of grinding. So that's my purpose now, to continue to push myself so others can see what is possible.
One of the keys to my success in life was I was able to see myself at the end of a very difficult task before I even started it. When I was 297, out of shape and afraid of water, I was able to see myself at graduation as a Navy SEAL. But as time went on, I kept on getting rolled back to day one. And every day got longer and longer. So what I had to do was I had to take this big chunk and make it small. So I became the master of the one day that I was living. We have to do that now. We don't know when the end is coming to this. So we got to master that one day. It may keep on getting pushed back day after day. You master that day and want to be harder and stronger, you'll figure it out. Stay hard.
When I was in the military, we go on these instructor-led runs. Most of the time we knew the start and end point. So on the way back, I started seeing people getting happy and shit because the end was near. But there were some asshole instructors that would hear the happiness and go right on past the end point. When that happened, everybody stopped talking. Heads would start dropping. And I started taking fucking souls. At that time, I knew what happened in their minds. They were living off the hope factor. They hoped the instructors would stop running. They hoped the water was never cold. They hoped the weather was fucking good. I don't live off that hope shit. I wish the water was cold. I wish them motherfucking instructors keep on fucking running. I wish for fucking rain. When the ending is unknown and the distance is unknown, that's when you know who the fuck you are. Stay hard.